Concept of when you die.
Exactly.
St. Peter reviews your life.
That's right. So in the Christian traditions, you have St. Peter.
Joe Rogan hears evidence for Jesus during a near-death experience, and no one's talking about it. So let's get right into the video, and make sure to watch to the end because I have a Bible verse that will tie all of this together. Let's get right into it.
And this was how I first heard about this thing, which is called the life review. And they, a lot of near-death experiencers, they report these series of stages of things that happen to them, like they're floating above their body, they go through a tunnel of light, and we've heard all of this. But the most important part for me in these stories, and you have thousands of people, right? You can just go out on YouTube and listen to any of these near-death experiencers. But what Daniel called this thing called the life review was he called it a holographic panoramic review of your life. And what that means, and other near-death experiencers have reported this, maybe about 20% of them, that you go through every single moment that you ever lived in like this virtual reality, three-dimensional panorama, but you see it from the point of view of everybody else, right? So if you were mean to someone, if you stabbed someone, or in Daniel's case, he was in special forces in Vietnam and he actually killed people. He said he had to experience what it was like to, get the bullet. And then more than that, experience what happened after that guy died, his wife, the guy who died, his wife and children, what kind of suffering they experienced. So it's like you're reviewing, like after a football game, right? Or after a match. You might sit there and review on the screen what happened. Right. Except this screen is like, fully immersive, the best VR you could ever have. It's like you're reliving the moment. So a couple of years ago, I was involved with a startup in Silicon Valley, and we took a game like League of Legends. You've probably heard of League of Legends, like the most popular, at least it was, esports game, right? And you've got all these guys on a field, but pretty much you play on a 2D screen, right? So we made it so you could replay the game, but you would put on a virtual reality headset, and it would seem like you were on the field in League of Legends, and you could replay from any point of view. Same with Counter-Strike Global Offensive was the one that I was thinking of, because in that game it's a first-person shooter, so you're like shooting people, and so literally you could go back and replay that game from the point of view of the person you shot, right? And so when I was experiencing this, it was reminding me of all these things these near-death experiencers have been telling us about this life review. And as an engineer and computer scientist, my question is always, well, how does that work? I mean, if you could replay every single moment in your life, even the moments when you weren't there, right, including like what happened to this guy's wife and what happened to their children, somebody has to record all.
That's crazy. Doesn't that sound a little bit like one day we'll be held accountable for all the things that we do on Judgment Day through Christ? That's crazy. That's wild. But just imagine you having to experience all the bad things that you've done, or see like, whoa, people saw that, or God saw that, someone saw that. That's wild. But let's continue to watch. Make sure to watch at the end, because I have a Bible verse that will tie all of this together. Let's go.
Going to replay it,
right,
if it's not being recorded. So, perhaps, this whole game is being recorded, just like we do, in fact, on YouTube. The most popular content, other than the Joe Rogan experiences, is video games content. Is like the replay. I remember my nephew, when he was like 3 years old, like before he was even going to school, he would say to his father, my brother, I want to watch Star Wars. And my brother was like, you want to watch the movie? No, I want to watch that man and that woman play the Star Wars game on YouTube, right? It was like he was just watching them replay a recording of the video game on YouTube. And so this life review thing, which is at the crux of near-death experiences, I think gives us a clue, and an interesting clue, which ties back to your question to me, which is how do you go, how do you live with this stuff? And I say, well, what if all of this is being recorded and you're making choices and you're going to have to review it afterwards? Right?
Like the concept of when you die.
Exactly.
St. Peter reviews your life.
That's right. So in the Christian traditions, you have St. Peter, you have the Book of Life, right? Which, theoretically, depending on who you ask, the recording angel has written down, whether you get into heaven or not by reviewing your life. Well, it turns out in the Islamic traditions, they get much more explicit about what that is. They call it the scroll of deeds. Okay, now, of course, remember, 2,000 years ago, they had to call it something people would understand. The scroll of deeds, there's two angels. And you've probably seen, like, in the movies, in the animated movies, they'll have, like, the angel and the devil. That comes out of the Islamic traditions, right? And so there's these two angels, they're called the Kiram and Kitabin, and they're sitting down and writing down. One's writing down all your good deeds, and one's writing down all your bad deeds. And what it says in the tradition, and when I delve into these different traditions, it's not so much to say, okay, this religion is right and that one isn't, but to say what's in common across all these religions. Because that part is probably right. If these guys are coming to that independently, all the other stuff, maybe, I won't, I won't criticize for you believing the other stuff. That's up to you. But that stuff is probably at the core of this thing called life and what happens after life. And so what it says in the Islamic traditions is, your book will be laid open for you after you die, and you will be the reckoner, right? So we think of Judgment Day, and we think of all this stuff, but what it's actually saying, now that's a metaphor. It doesn't mean there's like angels with a feather pen writing down what in Chinese, this is what happened this day, or in Arabic. The only thing that makes sense is you would basically just record the entire 3D scene and you would play it back for yourself, which is exactly what near-death experiencers describe when they talk about the life review. It's like this. They're sitting there, there's a screen, and then suddenly they get pulled into the screen and they replay all of this stuff. And there's usually an angel, or they might call him God, or they might say it's Jesus, or they might say it's a being of light. Different experiencers say different things. But they say that guy doesn't judge you. You're looking at it saying, oh, crap, I was going to try to be a better person to my wife this time around, and I wasn't, and I did this or I did that, or my kids, or, and they tell us that the moments that matter are the small moments in how you treat other people. Like, that's the thing you're most proud of, or you're like, damn, I treated that person in grade school. We all made fun of her, and I should have been her friend. Like, those are the things that really matter.
All the commandments are summed up in these two: to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind and strength, and then to love your neighbor as yourself. And that would make sense. But really, I believe it's all about this Bible verse here that will tie all of this together. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 10 says, "For we must all stand before Christ to be judged. We will each receive whatever we deserve for the good or evil we have done in this earthly body." Dang, that sounds a lot like what this guy is describing. I encourage you to go to God today before it's too late. He loves you so much. And the problem is, this one problem, we cannot make it to heaven. It's sad. I'm sorry. But because of Jesus dying on the cross so that we could be saved, and whoever believes in him, then you will get to be with God forever. So guys, I encourage you to do that today. Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Shout out to all the subscribers out there who've been supporting me through these years. If you haven't been subscribed, subscribe today. Please subscribe. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Thank you guys so much for watching. And let me know if you decided to receive Jesus. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day. Also, you might like this video here.